Hi, I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style.
And I'm Jill Chivers from Shop Your Wardrobe. And we've been asked to do a video on a topic that I personally find really fascinating, which is about budgeting and wardrobing for control people. Now, control people was an interesting term. I personally relate to it, sometimes referred to in the nicest, most loving possible way as a control freak. And I embrace elements of that and needing to have a sense of stability and tracking things and knowing where things are. So for me, that's what I mean when I say control. And I think that would be interesting to know whether or not, what does control mean to you? If you associate yourself as a control person, what does that mean for you? But we'll use that as a bit of a touchstone for this video and how you can approach wardrobing and budgeting and other associated style things when you have that penchant for wanting to have things under control. And so for me, when I think about sort of what comes naturally to me in that regard, the first thing that comes to me with budgeting is tracking. Now, that doesn't need to be in an Excel spreadsheet where you do percentages or anything like that. It might just be jotting things down, but what it's about is increasing your level of awareness about what's going out, and it might also be what's coming in. If you have either multiple sources of income or you work for yourself, it's really important to know what your numbers are. I got some of the best advice when I first started my business after leaving big corporate, which is do your own books for at least a year, because you need to really know what you're making. It can be really easy to get away from those numbers, and then you have no accurate basis on which you can work. You can really understand what's going on. I don't know whether you got that advice.
No, and I'm terrible at bookkeeping. So my advice was to actually, I spent 3 days trying to do a bank reconciliation, and I just went, that is a waste of my time. I'm employing somebody else. Right. But I have someone who comes every month and we go through it, and I know, so I'm always being kept up to date with where my numbers are. Yeah. But I think too, particularly with numbers, when you think about budgeting for wardrobe, you have to budget for wardrobe. Yeah. You have to have a budget for wardrobe. Very few of us can go a year without clothes shopping at all. Yes. Because things do wear out. And in fact, a friend of mine, she's just spent a year travelling, so living on a very small capsule. And what she actually said is, I've had to replace it 3 times because it just keeps wearing out. Right. Yeah. So I can live on a small capsule, but then I actually have to replace things more frequently. Yeah. Particularly if you're travelling. I mean, that can wear hard on your clothes. Yeah, but I mean, it was really just, she said, because I'm washing and wearing and washing and wearing, that versus if you have a larger wardrobe, each item is not getting the same constant wear versus a small capsule, which will. Yeah. So if you want to have that small capsule, because many people say, I want a small capsule, be aware that you're going to have to be replacing items more frequently. Yes. Than if you have a larger wardrobe. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Also too is thinking about a budget, going, well, what do I do? What is my income? What are my other expenses? But also going, okay, well, I need to think about what is a good budget for what I need. So if you're retired and live a relaxed lifestyle, your budget doesn't need to be as large as if you're working in a fairly high-powered corporate job where presentation is actually incredibly important. Yes. You need to buy good quality. You'll need to update every now and again because it says that you can deal with change and you can move forward, and
impression management is a big part of that scene. Yes. Whether you like it, hate it, embrace it, rebel against it, if you're in that world, impression management is part of it. So thinking about then going, okay, well then I need to go, okay, well here's my budget. And then how you spend it is going to be down to your personality. Yeah. So there'll be some people who just like to go, I like to go shopping twice a year. Right. Summer and winter sort of thing, or spring and autumn. So I'll buy my spring, summer, autumn, and then my autumn, winter updates. Yeah. I do 2 shopping trips, and I buy everything, and then I just don't go to shops again. Yeah, and that I think works when founded on a strong foundation of preparation. Yes. So that there has been some time, and I would say well before, not the night before, but well before, where you're looking at wardrobe gaps, and if I had X, it would make so many things easier, work better. And that's not going to happen just the night before a big shopping trip. That's going to take a few weeks, possibly even longer. I would put it at months, where you're tracking that. If you're only going shopping twice a year, which I think is a wonderful way to approach it, particularly if you don't enjoy shopping. Yes. You go out, you get and what you need. And this is where often too is you have the professional like me. Absolutely. Because that's where you'll often get the best value. Or you have a professional like me come into your wardrobe, work out what your gaps are. Yeah. And then, because that's also another thing, is that I can go in and go, okay, well, we seem to be missing this and that. And that creates the
the framework for that shopping trip.
Yeah.
But be aware if you're only going to shop twice a year that you maybe what you want, it might be the week that it's not your fashion.
That's right.
That can be the tricky thing with that. And then you can go, you know, I would never spend the money. I'd go to save the money. I'm going to have to do it again on another day.
Is that where online shopping could come in as well?
Online shopping can come into that as well.
Yeah.
Now, there's other people who enjoy the shopping experience more and they don't want to just do twice a year.
Yeah.
So therefore you might go, well, here's my overall yearly budget.
Yes.
I'm going to break it down. Maybe it's into monthly.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 2 monthly. Or maybe it's weekly, like budgets. Or go, I've got this much for a month. I can spend it. I might spend it all in one weekend, or I can spend 3/4 one weekend, and then, but I only know I've got this much more to spend this month.
And that approach works for a lot of the women that I encounter who want to slow down their shopping. A lot of the women who do my program don't necessarily stop shopping completely for an entire year, but they want to arrest the accelerated pace that all this shopping has in their lives. And so they set a budget, which might be something like $200, or sometimes it's $50, but that taking shopping away completely can often be very difficult for some people. But having a budget like $50, which for some of us who have been in the corporate world and spent lots of money on clothes can seem ludicrous. It's not even possible to buy anything for $50 or under. Trust me, it is. But what that does is it adds this element of thoughtfulness and planfulness, and that can be really helping if you are a bit of an over shopper. It just adds in some elements that gets in the way of that feverish sense of I have to have it and purchasing it immediately. And that can be really, really helpful. But even if you don't have over shopping tendencies, that idea that you're going to add some further thought and some structures around it can be really helpful, particularly if you're in transition, I think. And
I think it's really important to, because if you have a budget, hopefully you'll be much more careful about what you buy, because you can't, I always look at Oprah, whenever she'd give away her entire wardrobe, it's like she never really needed advice. Because she's got enough money, she can replace her wardrobe like that.
Yes.
Versus if you have a stricter budget, if you have a limited budget, then you have to actually really go, every piece should earn its place.
Absolutely.
The less money you have, the more value it is in knowing what suits you.
Yeah.
Because mistakes can be more, you know, expensive and kind of hurt more deeply.
Yes.
Because it matters, because it's like, oh, well, there's $500. It doesn't matter when you're Oprah. But for many people, $500 might be their budget for 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's like, no, every piece planned. And I have written a post about, you know, how to make, you know, shopping a better experience and shopping strategies. And one of the things I've talked about is what I call make it an 8. Yeah. And that's where if you were standing there looking in the mirror, and it's very hard because often, you know, we're told just do you love it or not. But that can be too broad. And if I actually, and I do,
said that.
Yeah, but you know, like, but it can be too, well, do I love it? And the moment, sometimes the emotion of shopping can make me think I love it.
That's right.
Versus if I go, rate this garment out of 10, how does it make me feel? And if I go, it's about a 6, it's not good enough. It doesn't earn a place. Versus if it's an 8, 9 or 10, that's something that at least you go, I really do like it.
Absolutely.
And maybe when you get home, re-rate it, just to make sure it wasn't the store's skinny mirror.
Yeah. No, they're terrible.
But it is that sort of thing that very much, it's that, because many of us buy it'll do and not quite right because we want to bring something home, and I just go, that's just throwing money away. Or something that needs something else to go with it.
Yeah.
That's actually expensive.
Yeah.
Versus if we go, okay, how is it, does it work with my wardrobe? Does it go with other things I already own? Or if I, like say I need a new something, that then it will go with the new version of that, because that might be a wardrobe hole that I'm trying to fill.
Yeah.
But so if you kind of go, if I'm rating it, and it's so simple. And even if your wardrobe going, do I want to keep this? Sometimes it's like, put it on and go, if I had to rate this out of 10, what would it be? And it really very quickly, suddenly people go, no, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it makes the decision easier.
And I have a criteria similar to that, which is if this item of clothing in my wardrobe were hanging in a store window or in a rack, would I still buy it today? And if the answer is no, you don't necessarily need to get rid of it if you have to keep it, if it's fulfilling an important function for you, but it's on probation. It's definitely one that is marked to be let go of if you wouldn't buy it again today. And the thing about our wardrobes is they are dynamic. They are never set in stone. And so something that was terrific 5 years ago could be going on probation today, and we don't have to feel bad about those changes in our wardrobe.
And I think too, so if you are, you know, somebody who has this aspect like you want to keep control, it's thinking about how will I set a budget, how does that work for me, how do I spend, because sometimes control people will not spend at all because it's like, oh, you know,
we can get stuck.
We can actually get too stuck. So therefore I think it's gaining knowledge about what works. It makes it much easier. For me, I remember after I'd done my image consultant training, going out shopping and realising I had a wardrobe hole, and I'd made a decision about I needed a certain sort of jacket. I could dress up, dress down. It wasn't a suit jacket. And I spent, you know, every shop I walked into, I looked at, and it took me actually 2 years to find this jacket. But when I found it, and it was more expensive than anything I'd ever spent on before. And it wasn't horrendously expensive, but it was more expensive than I was used to spending. But I knew it was worth the money, and I would get the wear out of it, and I still have it in my wardrobe today. Because I knew it was the right thing.
And you were armed with all of that knowledge and an enormous amount of
And I had wasted no other money.
Trying to get it.
Like, I could have easily have spent that money on multiple other things that didn't work so well.
I tell you, there's an excellent lesson there. Tell you what we'd love to hear in the comments is if you consider yourself a control person, what does that mean to you? And you know, what are your tips for wardrobing and budgeting? And what other questions do you have about this? Because to me, I think this is as long as a piece of string. There's just so many elements to it. So tell us in the comments about you and control and budgeting and wardrobing.